Our children continue our lives. Some of the problems that occur along the way. Let us introduce the concept of blood mixing as a process that can originate new life. There are often names for this process, but we will use this name. For some reason, blood mixing is called the bad phenomenon of incest. Incest has its own special meaning, and blood mixing is a broader concept that generally occurs during the origin of life. Love also has its laws. I have described 6 laws of love, which are probably the most basic. One of them says, blood mixing is allowed only in marriage. There are things that are the only ones that connect every person with the world around them. These are love, freedom, and property. Just as person always enjoys freedom and material wealth, he can always enjoy love. But there is no absolutely complete freedom. It is limited by the freedom of other people. Material goods are not unlimited. They are limited by our capabilities. Love also has its own strict limit. There is a great boundaries in love, a great limit between love and blood mixing, which no one can cross outside of marriage. I will reveal to you that we have more than one offspring. That is, not just children who were born from our seed, but there are also other children, those who have taken over our knowledge, our mind, our spirit. This may be our blood children, but I am afraid they do not always inherit our spiritual heritage. This may be completely strangers who have taken over our spiritual wealth. We pass on an inheritance to our children, and this is the essence of our life. But inheritance can be different. The entire inheritance can be divided into 2 parts. These are care and upbringing. Care and upbringing can only be divided in time conditionally. They are passing parallel to each other, but with different intensity. In the first part, we, the caretakers, pass on to our children the inheritance of life, then food, clothing, warmth. We take care of them. Why are we doing this? We do this not only because it is written in our genes, but also because it gives us the opportunity to love them. And we need love very, very much. Together with love, we renew ourselves. Love brings great pleasure. Without pleasure, without love, there is no active renewal of the cell of our body. Do our children respond to us in the same way? No, of course not. It only seems to us that they love us. Children love themselves. They love our care. Like a sponge, they absorb the energy of our love and grow. Without enough love, a full-fledged person cannot develop. Our children do not respond to us by giving us the energy of their love, because they themselves do not have enough of it. They use it entire for their own growth and development. It is much later, especially when our parents are no longer in the world, it seems to us that we have not been able to repay them for their kindness, that we loved them very much, and sometimes we are tormented by reproaches and even pain for our inattention. But this is not the result of a true feeling of love for them, but the result of the work of consciousness. Only consciousness can have a feeling of gratitude. Everything else, including love, cannot. By the way, love has a sexual essence at its core, the psychology of which I tried to describe in a separate blog, Psychology of Love. A similar state of care in a more primitive form occurs among animals. They feed their offspring with milk and food and looked after them. As soon as the young grows up and try to take something else, they are driven away. They must provide for themselves. A child who begins to grow up develops more and more his mind. He has an urgent need for knowledge. Here the process of passing on the inheritance in the form of upbringing gains momentum. In the second part of the transmissions of our heritage, we, the educator, parents, other children and friends, teachers and mentors, as a human environment, transmit knowledge to children, develop their minds. In turn, all upbringing can be further divided into two stages. At the first stage of upbringing, the child gains experience. He learns about the world around him, language. Question begin. Parents and educator help the child explain the acquired experience, deepen his knowledge about it. At the second stage, they begin to form conscious. They begin because it does not form itself. The first stage begins earlier, the second later. Then they go hand in hand and linger until the end of life. But the very passage of these stages differ from each other in psychological terms. The formation of consciousness is a special process that will require a separate explanation, which I will do in the next blog. Thank you for your attention.